Okay, a short video on why I think violence isn't the answer. So I don't know if you've noticed, but over the last 6 months or so, the powers that be have really ramped up their trolling activities. So you can look back to the G7 that took place in Cornwall, where the only people wearing masks were the kind of the plebs that were serving the drinks. Then we had Barack Obama's parties, wild party, looked fun, no social distancing there. And then the other day we had the Queen meeting up with people inside Buckingham Palace, all like the world's major business leaders. This 90-odd-year-old woman, no one was wearing masks or anything like that. It's almost as if it's designed to troll people. Look, ha ha ha, we're laughing in your faces. Here's the double standards, and you've just got to accept those. I guess more seriously though, is what's gone on in Italy, where new mandates have been passed, whereby it's now forbidden to work, even being self-employed, if you haven't had the Armspear and you've not got the Armspear passport. This, as I say, this is even people who are working remotely from home, who are not in contact with people at all. They're still not allowed to earn a living. So these people basically are being starved into taking the Armspear. And I guess, when people are pushed to that level, they're likely to respond to it with violence. And what I think is that this is deliberate. This is absolutely deliberate. They want us to respond in a violent way to their double standards and naked totalitarianism. So what we must do is not respond in the way that they want us to respond, which is to use physical violence. Because what they'll do is use that violent backlash to then legitimize an even tighter grip on the reins of power. So you'll basically be living in a absolutely complete police state, where the government will say, well, we've got to pass these new laws to protect you from these anti-vax terrorists, and we're going to detain these anti-vax terrorists for indefinitely without charge, or just basically ban even more so, but curtail free speech, an absolute end to any form of non-sanctioned government approved protests. So we mustn't give them this opportunity to do what they want, which is to roll out a fully fledged police state. Who knows, even martial law. They could use a violent reaction by so-called anti-vaxxers to roll out martial law. So we don't want that. So if violence isn't the answer, what is? I would say the answer is to withdraw our consent. And I've spoken about that before. So what things should we withdraw our consent from? Well, I would say, firstly is don't wear the mask, because most people are sheep. So if you're wearing a mask, they'll think it's normal. They'll therefore want to fit in, and they'll fit in by wearing a mask. So if we can get to a situation where the vast majority of people are not wearing a mask, then the sheep will follow suit and not wear a mask too. So this visible symbol of compliance disappears. I don't think we can stress how important that would be, just to get 99% of people not wearing masks. Just basically stare at them, like they stare at people 7 or 8 months ago that weren't wearing masks, or laugh. Anyway, maybe that's not particularly kind, but maybe I wouldn't do that actually in actual fact. Just ignore them, I guess. So the second thing would be not get tested. This again is crucially important. If none of us get tested, then they don't have the cases. And without the cases, they can't impose lockdowns, or it's very, very difficult for them to justify arms beer passports if there's no cases. And we can just make sure that there are never any cases by not getting by not getting getting yourself tested, not having the cotton wool things rammed up your nose. So that's that. It's not as if if you test positive for this thing that you're given treatments that work anyway. You're just basically told to go home and self-isolate. So what's the point of that? And then obviously the other things is not to take the arms spear, and not to comply with the arms spear passport should they come in your country. And that might mean not just going in, but telling the owners of those businesses that you're not going to comply. You'll never return to their businesses again. Use social media to just basically warn them. Say, well, look, if you do this, you won't just lose my business now, but you will lose it forever. And again, some basic accounting. If you lose 20% of your customers, that's 20% of your revenue lost. So if you're ignorant of business, you'll think, oh well, that's not very much, but 20% loss of revenue might mean more than a halving of their profits, because they'll still have their fixed costs to pay for. And I guess also as well, just to talk to other people, refer to it as the Nazi pass, refer to it exactly as it is. Make people uncomfortable. Ask those people that still support it, do they remember when it was a conspiracy theory? So those are other things that we can do. The final thing that I wanted to talk about was 3 examples, good examples of people and their lives that might provide valuable lessons for us at the current time. So the first one is Gandhi, who managed to use peaceful non-compliance and mass civil disobedience to make India ungovernable. And by doing that, he managed to kick the Brits out of India, get rid of British tyranny, and establish a better society, one where there was less tyranny. And he just did that by, well, in some cases, there was a film, wasn't there, with Ben Kingsley in it, and there was a scene where the Brits have asked Indians to carry around these identity cards, and in this clip in the film, Gandhi kind of throws his into a brazier, a burner, and this British officer kind of warns him that if he does that, he's going to beat him up. So Gandhi kind of braces himself and he throws it into the burner, and he gets beaten up. Now you might think, well, what's the point in that? But there's this huge crowd watching, and what this event sort of signifies to them is it tells them who the tyrants are. He gets a proper good beating with truncheons and everything like that. So, no one can actually say, well, Gandhi's a dangerous extremist, Gandhi's a terrorist, or if he's responding to tyranny in that way. What it does is expose who the real tyrants are. And I would say we could do the same here. If it comes in wherever country you're living, refuse to obey, even if it means, maybe you get fined, don't pay the fine. Okay, so you go to court. Swamp the courts. They can't send all of us to jail. They just don't have the capacity. And that's basically what Gandhi did. Flood their systems, flood their bureaucratic networks, and we will win that way. That's how he did it in India. The second person that seems relevant to me is a fictitious character, Francisco de Ancona, who Ayn Rand wrote about in Atlas Shrugged. And this guy was bigged up in the first third of the book as being this kind of superhuman who ran these very, very successful businesses that were just fantastic for consumers, really efficient. And this guy worked really hard, he was really smart. Anyway, this a totalitarian takeover by some kind of odious group of politicians. I know from memory that it was sort of the socialist variety of totalitarianism rather than the fascist type that we've got now, but it doesn't really matter. It was totalitarian. So what this guy did, this Francisco de Ancona did, was that rather than allowing his businesses to be looted by the state, he just destroyed them all and just refused to work. And I think that that's also could be a very, very effective tactic. You know, when this came along, I just thought, well, I'm not complying. I quit my job as a teacher. I'm not going to work as a paid teacher anymore. I used to write a lot. I'm not going to do any writing now until all of this is resolved. If it comes down to it, I'd destroy my own property rather than having it looted from me by these politicians that are controlled by the World Economic Forum. So I suppose, it's similar to what the Russians did, against Napoleon and Hitler. They just adopted a scorch earth policy. And again, that's legitimate, providing that it's your own intellectual property that you're vandalizing and destroying, And then the final, so again, non-violence, nothing violent towards other people's property, but private property rights just about exist, possibly. So certainly you can choose to destroy your own intellectual property, deprive the looters from using it. Because these scumbags, they don't create anything themselves. They just live off the resources that they steal from people like me and you. So just deprive them of it, just destroy, and then they'll have to get out and do. I dare say, like, Klaus Schwab has never done anything productive in his life. He's never produced a thing of value that somebody has voluntarily wanted to purchase. Same as Boris Johnson, same as Jacinda Ardern, same as that Trudeau guy in Canada. 100% pure parasites, pure looters. So just deprive them. And then the final person that I want to reference is our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ, who adopted human form for 33 years. And again, his example tells us that non-violence is the way forward. So I will retract what I said again earlier on in this video. I don't think it's a good idea to even frown at the kind of mascoids, or just leave them to get on with it, and just pray for them that they manage to kind of wake up, and that they don't arm spear their kids, because that's going to be absolutely awful, in the long term. Anyway. I'm at the local, it's like a village sports ground. So as ever in Finland, it's quite big for the amount of people. But yeah, anyway, off for a swim now. God bless you all.